Hello, this is story 52A1. Story 52A1. And it is a addition to story 52A that I put out a couple weeks ago. Story 52A1, the naked people in the Mettawee, or of the Mettawee. I'm not sure which I'm going to call it. On story 52A, I told how I wound up living in Whitehall a long time ago. Like 33 years ago this took place. And that goes into all that matter and how I wound up living in this town, in this area, in this region of upstate New York that I'd never been in before. And it's in northeastern New York State. And I was pretty well new to the whole area. And when I took a job there. And I wound up living in the woods for quite a while. I thought it would only be like a couple of weeks. I'd have to camp out while I'm working to get enough money until I can get an apartment. It turned out to be 3.5 months. And so I've got some stories that came out of that, you better believe it. And the first one is how I wound up living in the woods and how I wound up in the Mettawee River and almost drowned in it. Day one there. And if you're interested in that, look at story 52A. I'm not going to recap that. What I want to talk about is something that took place when I almost drowned in the river. And it was a pretty bizarre story, really. But one of my commenters on story 52A pointed something out that never occurred to me. And I like it when that happens. I don't make a dime off these videos on this channel. Nothing. I refuse to even try to. But the real pay is just some of the people I've met on this, you know, writing and such, and some of the comments and the insights and the other stories that you all share in your comments. That's the real pay, honestly. You know, I've had, I don't know how many people through, especially on my Christian stories, which are stories 1 through 16 for the most part, and I've got some other Christian stories in there. But people telling me how much it made their day or how it helped them out, something I said. Believe it or not, could be having a really rough day. I'll never forget one where a woman wrote to me on one of my Christian stories, and she said, "I am 30,000 feet in the air right now. And I needed to hear just what you said in that story." And I don't know which one it was. Probably it's one of the first stories, you know, through 1 through 10, I think. And little did that woman know that I was feeling pretty down that day. And I read that story, and it lifted me right up. And I gave thanks to God for that and prayed for that person. So there's more ways to get paid than money. And trust me, I'll get into the story and stop digressing. This isn't a story, but somebody pointed out in story 52A something I hadn't thought of about the naked people in the Mettawee. And if you need to, go back and watch story 52A, Into the Woods and the Mettawee River. And I'll link to that in the description of this. But somebody pointed out, let me see. I don't script these. We're going to go to here's a picture of the Mettawee River off Google Earth, all right? This is a picture of the Mettawee River where this event took place. Here's a picture. And you will see some rapids and a waterfall and a nice clear pool of water. And the rapids obviously right before the waterfall. And I want you to note, and I'm going to draw a couple more. Here's a picture that I said where I felt the underground cave was. And I'm looking, see, when this came out, when this happened, I mean, this was long before Google Earth, you know, satellite images were available. This was like 33 years ago, 33 years ago. And I did not see this river or the land. I saw it from just standing there and being in it. But I'm looking at this picture of the Mettawee River, and I noticed something actually right before the rapids, and here's a picture with a circle around what I'm talking about briefly. It looks like there's a cave there right before the rapids, underwater, doesn't it? And I recall, I thought it was closer to the falls, and it might have been. I don't know. But I'm looking at it from this, and I'm seeing what looks like a cave. Because I'll just recap what happened real quick. I very foolishly went into the river swimming where the rapids were. And it was a really foolish mistake. It almost cost me my life. I think it was a miracle I didn't drown. And I went in, I just had my jeans on, took my shirt off, took a selfie right before I went in the water, which is on story 52A. Now and then if I can dig up pictures, I use them. Sometimes I borrow off the web. And I got swept into an underwater cave, pitch black. The current was very strong. I couldn't do a thing about the current. It had me. It had me. And I got swept down into a cave, and it was pitch black in there, and I tried to swim out initially, and I came to a place, it's really weird, underwater in this cave. It was like a void. There was no current anymore. I'm just telling you what I experienced. It was pitch black. I didn't know where, I couldn't see anything around me. And I felt pretty sure I was going to drown. I wasn't terrified, believe it or not. I just thought, I'm going to drown today. Probably looks like this is it. And I just somehow floated out of that cave. I just surfaced. And it wasn't from my struggles. I just surfaced. All right? Maybe I went underwater and maybe it comes out somewhere. I don't know. But I know that I was swept into this dark cave underwater. And I was down there for maybe 10, 15 seconds. I don't know, really. And then all of a sudden there wasn't any current. And I'm just kind of floating in this black void. And next thing I know, I'm back up into daylight and in the rapids, and I'm heading for the waterfalls. And I went over the waterfalls, and I thought I was going to maybe drown going over the falls. I was afraid that maybe, because I was hitting rocks, when I was going down these rapids, it was not a smooth ride. I was getting slammed into rocks right and left. Hard. I mean, not hard enough to injure me, but hard enough. Boulders that were under the water, And I thought that when I went over the falls, maybe there was going to be rocks and I was going to get slammed into some rocks underwater. This time pretty hard because I'm going over falls and I got all that water pushing me. Well, I went over the falls and there were no rocks. Thank God. It was actually pretty nice. I went underwater and all the bubbles from the waterfall just kind of lifted me up nice and gently and just floated me on the water surface. And I just floated there on my back because people were still watching me, expecting to see me drowned. I found out. They all thought I was going to drown. And I swam out of it, and I walked up to the people, and one of the guys, bikers there, said, "You're an idiot." And I'm like, "What's up?" He said, "A man and a woman went in right where you went in 2 weeks ago. And there's all these other local guys around there, and they're all going, 'Yep, that's right, yeah.'" They're all, supporting that and saying that what this guy's saying is, he said a man and a woman went in, a man and his girlfriend went in 2 weeks ago right where you went in and drowned, both of them. And he said they never found their bodies. And the other guys around there, they're all locals. They all were talking about the same thing. Yeah, they never found their bodies, neither his or hers. And they're saying, "You're lucky you didn't drown." And all right, picture off. And I don't know. And I swam out, and then I was camping out there that night, and the bikers and everybody that I knew from my guard unit and a few other people, they all went home that evening. They weren't camping out there. They had homes to go to. I did not. And I slept there that night. I remember I was the only person there. And I want to point out that there's not much parking available off the road there. It's kind of a remote place. The The locals go there from time to time to swim and to party or whatever they do there. Well, I woke up the next morning, and it would have been Sunday morning. I woke up, nice summer day, midsummer, nice weather, and I slept in the grass by the water. Picture back on. Yeah, snapper. All right, so I slept in the grass by the water where the waterfalls were. And when I woke up Sunday morning, there was a man and a woman swimming in that pool of water by the waterfall by where I was sleeping. All right, picture off, sorry. Yeah. Any rate, this man and this woman were in the water swimming, naked, stark naked. And I was kind of shocked because I don't just see that every day. In fact, I think that's the only time I've ever seen it. I saw it once before. That's another story, but it's an army story. I got lost in the jungle in Central America and triple canopy jungle, and I had to shoot an azimuth with my compass to the ocean to find the ocean and walk out, and I came across a nudist beach. Me and a couple other guys that were lost. And they saw us there. We had machine guns bristling, and we found the beach. We found a nudist beach, and they either ran to their cars or they ran into the water. At any rate, back to the story. So this was the second time I've seen naked people in water swimming. So this man and this woman, were swimming in the water, and they came out of the water together, buck naked, and lay down in the grass, not too far away from me. And why not too far? Oh, I don't know, maybe 20 yards. I don't know, not that far. How far would it have been? Not 20 yards. That'd be 60 feet. Probably 15 yards away. And they just lay down in the grass and they were chatting. I couldn't hear what they were saying. They looked like they were in their early 20s, maybe. They were young, white people. Both had brown hair, medium height. Medium build. I wasn't gawking or anything, but the woman didn't look bad, and I wasn't checking the guy out. And they just laid down in the grass real casual and started talking, and I gathered up. I didn't have much there. I had a radio, a pillow, and a sleeping bag, probably. And I got all that together, and I left because I didn't want to be around them. I'm kind of modest. And I left. I got my Jeep that was parked up by the road and drove off and went somewhere else. And I recall I thought that place was noisy with the waterfalls and the rapids. Actually, the noise level from all that water was enough where it was kind of hard to sleep, I found. But, so I left. Now, one of the commenters on Story 52A said, maybe the man and the woman swimming in the water were the spirits of the man and the woman that drowned 2 weeks earlier, right where I went in the water, where I got swept underwater into a black cave. Somebody said maybe those were the spirits of the man and the woman that drowned in the water where you went in, and they never found their bodies. Which, I tell you what, they probably were in that cave. Where else would they be? And maybe they came out because you found them. Somebody else said that me going in that cave and coming out helped free them, perhaps? And I never thought of that, honestly. It sounds pretty far-fetched. The story's pretty far-fetched, but it happened. You're just going to have to take my word on it. It occurred to me, maybe it was. I've experienced some pretty strange things in the spirit world. I had some pretty strange things coming up yet, and I want to get through these, so maybe it was them. I don't know. There weren't any houses around there then. But then again, maybe just some guy and his girlfriend or wife said, hey, let's go take a dip in the stream naked, I don't know. But it's an interesting idea. I'm inclined to think that it wasn't their spirits, only for the reason that they were buck naked. And I may be wrong. This is just conjecture, an idea. The way I put things together, I think that when you pass on and go into the spirit world, you've got to abide by certain rules, and having clothes on is one of those. You don't really see, I don't know too many ghost stories of naked people. They're either wearing clothes they wore when they were alive on earth, or they're dressed in white, or they're just a black or a white mist, or a ball of light. But I don't recall seeing naked people. And if they do, I would question whether or not they were free, so to speak. And I'll tell you why. And this is, think of this. Adam and Eve, right? Naked in the garden. Innocent, naked. I think innocent like the animals. The animals, they don't know right from wrong, good or evil. However this is open for debate. When they first they ate of the fruit, and they ate of the fruit of wisdom and knowledge, and they suddenly had the knowledge of right and wrong. And what's the first thing they noticed when all of a sudden they knew right from wrong? They noticed they were naked. They were naked. And they noticed it. They became aware that they were naked. And I don't think that bothered them. But what bothered them was that God walked among them. He made that garden. It was like his theme park or something, where he liked to chill out, take some time off. He put all this work into creation. And they were afraid that their father, creator, would see them naked. So they got fig leaves and covered themselves, right? And when God saw them, he knew what had happened, because all of a sudden they're aware that they're naked. Now, I don't know about you, but think about this. Maybe some of you, to some extent, I don't really care about being naked around other people. I'd rather not be, but I've had a few situations in the military. Sometimes, I'm modest, but not extremely modest. But I'll tell you one thing I wouldn't want to do as an adult, and that's walk in front of my father or my mother stark naked. Like walk right through the living room naked, or the kitchen, around your family, So that tells me that clothing is a godly virtue. The angels I saw in story 1 were wearing robes. All the spirits I've seen were clothed, unless they look like a ball of light or a mist. But if they were in human shape, they were wearing clothes. Stories of hell. Now and then you get stories of people that have gone to hell and come back. The people down there, according to these people, they're all naked. It's about the first thing you do is you get your clothes tore off of you, because it's a godly virtue, modesty. So that's why I am inclined to think that probably was just some guy and his girlfriend among the living that decided to take a skinny dip in the stream, and they knew I was there. They knew I was there. That's the thing that gets me. They didn't seem to care. If I saw them, I don't know. They didn't pay me any mind. They didn't say hello. They didn't even look at me. In that regard, they did act like ghosts, because I've seen spirits that looked solid, flesh and blood, and they don't notice you. You talk to them or something, and they don't even seem to hear you or see you, And these people didn't seem to acknowledge me at all. So the verdict is out. They might have been the spirits of that man and woman that drowned in that hole. And they might not have been. I'm leaning towards they weren't. But I wanted to cover that because we had a little bit of a discussion in the comments on Story 52A. So that's pretty much all I wanted to say about this. Story 52A, the naked people in the Mettawee River. The next story coming up, I'm pretty sure, is going to be Story 52B, and that's where I went to live after I left the Mettawee River as my home. And there's definitely a spiritual encounter there, and then the other ones coming after that. Now I just want to say something for whatever, because it's my video. But when I watch Story 52A, if you watch Story 52A, you're going to hear my voice crack a couple places. My mother died the night before. That was my mom. She died January 21st 2021 at 11 p.m. And she died of COVID in a nursing home, and we couldn't be there for her because of the times. Nobody was allowed in. And I did the video because I was alone, all alone, and really in a very distressed state of mind. But my mother was an optimistic person up till, well, when she got COVID, it knocked her out. But right up to that moment, she's in a nursing home. She was 85, and she was always the optimist in life. And she had the greatest faith in God of any human being I have ever met. And she always saw the good in all people because Jesus died for us all. And that's the kind of person my mother was. She was confident. She may be in a wheelchair in a nursing home, but God had her life in His hands, and she was always the optimist. So when I watch that story, I hear my voice crack in places, and that's why my heart's breaking. And I might do a tribute story about her. She's really an amazing person. I got to give it some time, but I know she would have been honored. That's another reason I did the video. She really liked that I was making these videos. She really, really liked that I was doing this. And, you know, I've been haunted through the years, and she had paranormal things happen to her a lot too. And she chose to ignore them. And she said, don't give it power and don't give them power. Don't think about it, don't speak about it. But in my life, it didn't make any difference. Because if I didn't acknowledge them like she told me to, the stuff still happened anyway. But I always said, because all these haunting things that happened in a lot of my stories disrupted my life quite a bit. I didn't want these things to happen. I didn't look for them. But I always said, I'm going to take these things, all these ghost things. This story wasn't about ghosts, really. It might have been. But I'm going to turn this around. And well, my mom always said that was just the devil trying to disrupt your life, Tim, by sending these things to you. And I don't know if this is true or not, the hauntings. But I did say, I'm going to take these hauntings, and they definitely did disrupt my life, and I'm going to turn them around for God's glory. And there you go. So God will have the victory in all things, including these haunting stories. And I've got a few more of these to tell. And my mom would have wanted me to do this. She really would have wanted me to continue on with things, and I'm really in a rut. I've had a few other setbacks personally on top of my mom's death. But my mom, taking from her example in life, she never gave up. Never, ever did she give up or lose faith in God. She kept doing things. She helped build bridges in Africa in impoverished places. She had a lifetime of service to God and people. So, she was a great example. And I wanted to give her a little nod there. It's been a little over a month now, and when I rewatch these videos, like the last one, Story 52A, I see myself, my voice catches a few times, because it's all I can do is hold back the tears. Hard time. But we'll get through it. It's part of life. Get through it. Take care.